I want you guys to be unfiltered here. You're not going to offend me by any means.
Good. I think
Now,
Joe
if you guys
Carlos-
are offendable, that's not on me. Or Balboa Bay Club. That's the legal disclosure right there.
Thanks, man.
You don't want to do that.
There's Pesto's coming in.
Oh, Pesto.
The
Where's
godfather
Del?
of OC volleyball.
Where's Deli?
Ellie's going to come. He best appearance. Rumor has it.
There's this thing called the internet,
Yeah.
and you dial in on America Online.
He's just tweeting how some people suck right now. He'll be back.
Oh, look at James Felton. That's my era right there.
Beaks.
Old school.
Beaks. Charlie Brand called our team the best to ever win the Balboa Bay Summer League title. Beaks in the small gym.
Oh, for
That
sure.
would be, that
Fresh
would-
was on that squad.
No.
Not even close.
Dude, we smashed Travis's team. Oh my God, with Matty Lou, all these other goofs, gave you guys a beatdown.
Hey, Geeter, you win it 10 times?
Thanks,
Listen,
Pesto.
I played in 4, Pesty. I won 2. I mean, that's
Once
plenty.
was enough.
Yeah.
In all fairness, he had a mad 5'9" setter in front of him who was awesome.
All right, guys, let's
Matt
get
Unger.
started here. If we can stop.
No, not as about. No, I didn't invite Matty O to Balboa because I wanted to win. I wanted to play.
I knew we should have had Geeter host this. Yeah, he can take control. Hey, let's get started real quick. First of all, every year at Orange Coast, I try to honor someone that is involved in volleyball that just does a ton for the sport. And this year we were going to honor Rob Espero, and obviously that got cut short. So I decided about 2 weeks ago we should do it in a Zoom. So I'm super excited to see the turnout here. This is great. I think volleyball is such a small community, and to have all of us in here is kind of cool. And to honor Rob, just a few things real quick. I'm not gonna talk much about Rob's history. Brian's gonna take over here for me in a minute. But Rich has known Rob probably longer than all of us in here, and Lucy. But I met Rob playing open gyms back when we were both about 16, so about 10 years ago. And we got a kid going crazy. So I've known Rob a long time. Rob is the same guy he is now, was back then. He's just super polite, very kind, always smiling, and just a great guy. So I wanted to do him right today and just give him some love and let him know how we feel about him and how much he does for the sport that we love. So I'm going to hand it over to Thornton. Before we do that, though, Rob had his one story he wanted to tell about Thornton before Thornton started. So go ahead, Rob.
All right, so I actually was working behind the scenes on this with Travis, but I was trying to think of the most memorable moments in volleyball history I've had with some of the people on the screen, which there are a lot. But there's definitely a top 3 moment, and it was Thornton's senior night, and I think Speraw knows what I'm going to say here. But Thornton goes up for his senior speech. He starts thanking everyone, and he gets to Prescio, and he immediately goes to, you know what? I was going to share something about Prescio, but I wouldn't be able to say anything that he hasn't already thought about himself. And I remember busting up a gut so hard. 1, I couldn't believe it was said, but 2, it was actually super funny. I mean, the delivery and everything that Thornton had, he definitely has a future in hosting.
Well, I don't remember saying that, but I will say that, like, just right now already, like, that's absolutely true. I mean, there's no way that's not true. I mean, that still stands today. But thanks. I'm Brian. For you guys that don't know, I'm Brian Thornton. I played at Balboa Bay and then at UCI, where Rob was the announcer, where he's become the announcer of Southern California volleyball. He's the voice of Southern California volleyball. So thanks, Travis, and everyone putting this together. And it's really nice and cool because, Rob, I didn't, it's really nice. Honestly, people thought, and nothing against you, people thought, like, what happened to Rob? Like, is he okay? Is everything okay? We're honoring this guy. Is he all right? Is he sick? What's going on? No, he's fine. Rob's fine, guys. But it's really cool to honor someone that is, like, someone good, especially now with everything that's going on in the world. And the one thing that I can say about you, just for all the time that I've ever been around you, is just how, like, good you are. I just think you've been really, really good for the sport and good for everything. And so it's really nice to honor you here. And you're special, Rob. You're important. When you get this many friggin' people on a Zoom in month 3 of a pandy. Nobody wants to be on a Zoom right now, okay? Nobody. But we're all here because you've been really, really special. to all of us in the volleyball community. So that's how I wanted to open it for you. And one thing that I didn't know, I listened to Travis talk, is I don't know a ton about you. Like, how did you grow up? How did you get involved with volleyball? How did this stuff happen?
Oh, you're going to love this story because I think a lot of you who've worked with UC Irvine Athletics know Stacy King, who's on the call. I've seen her on one of the screens here. But after I decided to go to UC Irvine, and that first year they went Division I, I'm not going to say the year just because it's going to put a number on my age. So like Travis said, 26. I'm actually 25. So, but Stacy, well, because I wasn't able to play at UC Irvine because of some injuries I had that I was rehabilitating, I ended up not playing for the team at all, like seeing any court time. But I was so wanting to get on that court just because I knew it was such an historic year for them to go D1 too. So with that, I still had to pay for some of my schooling. So one of the ways I did it was being a lines official at the matches. So back in the day, it was the WIVA, Western Intercollegiate Volleyball Association. And it was all the teams that are in the MPSF and a team called San Diego State. Yes, they did have a team. Yeah. Loyola Marymount was in there. But one night, the announcer didn't show up. And Stacy at the time was an intern who's only 30, I believe, at this point, this year. So she's a youngster as well. She goes, "Rob, I need you more on that mic than I do on that sideline tonight." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I have never been on a microphone before." And, because I wanted to help her out because she's one of the attractive young ladies that I was trying to impress back in the Greek days. Mark. Sure, why not? So as you see, there's a lot of deep value and worth here of being able to just step into a job because she literally threw me in there and she trusted me with it. And that was my first night of the 5 years I've been doing this.
That's super cool. I just opened with talking about how good you are, and then I started wondering about you making all the great calls on the lines or not. Like, did you always make the right call when you were doing the lines?
Oh, yeah. I'll have to brag. During the women's season, one of the coaches said, "You were actually honest and really good," because I saw a small touch off a block. And he's like, "I'm surprised you saw that and called it." Like, hey, I'm getting paid to do this. But I got yelled at by the Irvine coach at the time for being honest. So
that doesn't surprise me at all. Was your first time that you started, like your first match? Do you remember anything about it, or was there, like, do you remember what that felt like? Or
yeah, the amount of sweat dripping on the table from me being so nervous. But yeah, I remember. I'm trying to remember who it was. I almost want to say that it was BYU that we were playing, and I remember an outside hitter who I'm like, "Man, I can be as good as this guy. He's only like 6'6", and like I'm talking trash on this guy. You may know him. He's now the head coach of the Puerto Rican men's national team. His name is Ozzy Antonetti. He is a 6'6" opposite hitter who just owned us. So it was an entertaining match, but it just gave me hope for my height challenge frame to do well in volleyball at one point.
Yeah. That's really. Did you know like that this was something that was going to turn into this? Did you know, like, at the time that you wanted to do that more?
I had no idea that I was going to be doing this as long as I could, or that I have. Just because it was just a way to pay the bills going through school. I'm like, wow, I get paid to watch volleyball. Why not do it and have a good time doing it? And one of the things that I recognized going to other gyms, because I was still supporting our team as much as I could when they were playing locally, was how boring it was just from a public address standpoint. And then I came across a announcer. I think Geeter will know this name. A few will know his name, by the name of Sam Lagana from Pepperdine. And hearing him announce, he did it with so much enthusiasm and energy, and he knew the game. We hosted I guess it was the WIVA conference tournament in the Brande Event Center, I think in 98 or 99, or sorry, 1988 or 89. And I heard him doing that. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I love the way he does it, and started incorporating what he was doing and kind of just letting loose, especially with Chick Hearn being one of the guys I looked up to. He had a way of really creating a colorful experience just by his words, because me and my dad used to just sit and listen to Lakers color broadcast, or because he used to be on the TV and on the radio, and Chick Hearn would drop his famous sayings, this one's in the fridge, the butter's getting hard, the jello's jiggling, and the lights off. So I loved hearing that kind of description. I'm like, well, why can't we do that for volleyball? It's so much more high action than basketball or baseball. And I figured, why not? Stacy gave me free reins, and I've only gotten busted a couple times dropping the ball and having a hot mic, but I'm not perfect, and I'll never admit that I am.
Did you have? Well, hey, look, I don't know if Ryan Ehrman's on the call, but that's the guy that blows it more than anything with a microphone in his face. So we got to see that. How's do you have a favorite call? Like, is there anything that you've ever had that's like, what's your favorite thing? Do you have anything that you ever come up with that you're like, that's good? Like, I like that.
Oh, I like to toot my own horn.
Yeah, no, well, not toot your own horn. I'm like, because I have personally, and I know if we open it up like to people here, like I know that people would be like, oh, that's my favorite Rob Espero one. People have that.
Well,
I can't see everybody's. I don't have it open where I see everyone's face, but I saw a couple fist bumps already.
So one of my favorite calls was when Kyle Weichert was playing at UC Irvine, and he was a middle blocker, and he got the nickname the Big Dog. So I threw something down, just kind of flowed with it. I said, you feed the big dog, he'll guard the yard on the call. And I'm like, oh, that sounded awesome.
Yeah, that is. So you came up with that?
I think I heard it somewhere. I think I stole it from someone because nothing I have is original. I've heard it somewhere because at the time I was living in Newport Shores with a bunch of my childhood friends. We'd all just gotten a house. We're living like dirt cheap and surfing every day and sitting around watching SportsCenter until wee hours of the morning. We had a little journal around the coffee table, and we're writing down favorite sayings. And I don't know if it was something that I'd written down or if we grabbed it from TV, but it was SportsCenter that got us really our creative juices flowing.
Yeah, that's very cool. Speaking of getting that stuff going, then we have another guy who hosts quite a bit of things. It's Chris McGee Geeter. I don't know if he can step on. I know he wanted to say a couple things about you, Rob. So yeah, I don't know. Geeter, you there?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yeah.
All right. Brian, by the way, I think you're the best host for this job. So
there's no chance that that's true. Keep going.
Good work. You carried Presh and Speraw for a long time. Those were always some of my favorite UC Irvine teams. And Robbie, I got to say this, man, before I get started. Don't worry about stealing things. I stole all of Presho's lines. I made them my own, and now I'm doing Laker games. So you just be you, buddy. You take other people's stuff and make it better. I did it my whole career. When Travis texted me and reached out to me about honoring you, it was an awesome text, actually. The reason he gave was because you're one of the greatest human beings on the planet. And I absolutely said, yes, I'll make sure I'm there because you are. And I just want to say congratulations, man. I can't think of a better man, a more deserving man than you. I mean, listen, man, for over 20 years, you've been spreading the gospel for the sport we all love. Play-by-play, color commentating, MC, PA, hosting, whether it's UCI, USA, AAU, CIF, NCAA, men's, women's, boys, girls. You bring that professionalism, that passion, the humor, the knowledge, and above all, man, and I mean this truly in this day and age of hate and a lot of people tearing each other down, you are a positive light, my man. And people love you, and they look forward to that smile. Like the minute I got on the Zoom, there you were. You're getting everyone on this Zoom call, as Brian pointed out on a Friday afternoon, across tons of generations of volley, legends that I looked up to. They're all here for you. Some of the great kids coming up, some of these young coaches. It says a lot about your character, and it says a lot about you. My generation, same as yours, I had Chick, I had Vin, I had Bob Miller. In volleyball, we had Marlo and Sunday. Kids now have Robbie on the mic, baby. You're a true ambassador of the game. You're a role model. And I talked to Presh for a few minutes today, and he doesn't say this about everybody, but he means it when he does. Oh, what a great kid! What a great kid! And he meant it from the bottom of his heart. And we shared some stories. And here's the deal, man. Before I let others talk, in my opinion, not that it matters in this sport, but you are a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's not just because you have the voice of an angel, my man. It's not just because you were blessed with the George Clooney looks and the Leonardo skin, even though you are one handsome man. That is not why. It is because you are a world-class human. And as Travis said, one of the great guys on this planet. So from the bottom of my heart, I love you, man. I love what you do. I'm a huge fan, not just a friend. And I appreciate you, and it was an honor to be here and be able to chat with you, brother.
Oh, Geeter, thank you so much. Your words mean so much to me because, funny enough, although that I will just say that we are around the same age at 30, 31, you were always someone that I saw. You were the one that broke through that glass wall of a volleyball personality of breaking into mainstream sports, but you did it with so much energy and enthusiasm. So it invited me and challenged me to push myself to newer levels because I saw what you're doing for the game, and I know you love the game. I love the enthusiasm and energy you bring, and I would only hope that I could be somewhere as a distant second to you. So
listen, man, I appreciate that, but this is about you, and you are there and beyond. Believe me, Presh said it best today. We were talking about you, and the word ambassador kept coming up, but it's true. The one story I remember is, listen, for those in this business, it's easy to get fired up for a championship game, whether you're coaching, playing, announcing, emceeing. Like when those lights are on and the TV camera's rolling, you don't need anything. But when I saw you this past summer doing one of my daughter's volleyball tournaments, the BVCA championships at AAU, and there you are on the mic and you're streaming and doing your thing and showing that same passion for 12-year-olds, that's a real dude. That's a real dude who loves this sport, no matter the gender, and that's what we need, man. You're the best, brother, so I appreciate you.
Mahalo.
Thanks, Geeter. And yeah, so Rob, that's interesting. Like, how did you and Geeter, you're both 31. Just talk a little bit. What happened there? What was that? All I got out of that, you guys are both 31. Something I want to know what happened.
We found the fountain of youth, and somehow we were able to spin back the clock of time. Spraw's only what, 26?
What were you guys doing at 31 though when you guys were coming up? How'd you guys both start announcing, or what was the story of that? And Geeter, feel free to talk too. Feel free to jump in here. Millie?
Yeah, man, I got lucky actually. Like for me, I played at Northridge, dead average, backup setter. My best days, like I said, were at the Balboa Bay League in the summer in that small gym playing with Beeks and Presh and crushing Travis. But for me, like I was a teacher and a coach. Rich Polk's on this call. We were battling, man. I was in my early 20s. I was coaching 16s. We moved up. Johnny Hawks, all my guys are on this call. And a lot of my friends were playing beach at the time. And I got lucky. You mentioned Sam Lagana's name, and Jim Marico, who's Jim Marico's he was the AVP announcer for many, many years. He's a huge mentor for me. I got the opportunity. I was 25 years old. I was asked to MC an event, and I did it. I always tell the kids when preparation and opportunity come together, you got to hit it out of the park. But it's funny, Robbie said the first time you ever grabbed the mic, mine was in Cabo in 1995, and I was out in the water. My team had just lost. There used to be a 6-man tournament in Cabo, if you can believe that. And the boys came running out, swimming out, and were like, Geeter, they need you on the mic. They need an announcer for the finals. I went and grabbed the mic. I had no idea what I was doing. I did the Macarena, said some stupid things, and 3 years later, I'm announcing the AVP. And Johnny Stevenson, who's no longer with us, was at that event. So when my name came up, he's like, I remember Geeter. That's how I got the job. So you never know.
Yep.
Interesting. And so Rob, what do you got going now, and then what do you got going next? We all know all the things you did. So what do you got going there?
Well, I got to say, though, I've got to add this in there because there are quite a few of the guys that didn't realize they had a hand in bring me to where I am now. But I have to say, because I saw Conti on here, and I saw Danny Glenn, and I don't know if Trent Jackson's on here, but I remember surfing one day at 56th Street Jetty. I believe it was in the fall, right before the girls' season. Pretty good swell. We're all kind of hogging the lefts off of there. And all these coaches, volleyball coaches, in the water. And Danny goes, hey, Robert, are you announcing any high school? I'm like, never thought of doing it. Danny's like, you're coming in my gym. And I've been announcing Newport Harbor since 1995. So I wanted to throw that in there because Danny didn't know he gave me that shot. I'm like, oh, sure, why not? So he took the risk on me. So
no way. Was that your first one?
What's that?
That was after this, like after the UCI one? When was that? When did that occur?
So that was after the UCI one because I'd only been exclusively announcing UC Irvine events. And Danny caught me surfing that one day, which it's been a while since I've seen Danny in the water. But I know Steve Conti's still ripping it. And I see Trent out there as well every once in a while at the river jetties. So I just thought it was funny how Danny's like, with all the coaches that were in the water at the time, having this, just a free form conversation. He's one that busts out, do you announce high school? So that was my start at Newport Harbor. Got to see Misty May, April Ross, Jen Carey, a few of the other guys. There's a long list of guys I got to see play, and gals, who ended up being these phenomenal players.
Rob, do you have any of your favorite, if you can say so, just any favorite players or moments or events from the past that stick out to you?
You mean besides your senior speech to press show?
I mean, I thought that one was pretty good, but besides that, yeah, going anywhere else. You got anything that sticks out? I mean, there's tons of you've announced everybody at this point.
Oh gosh, where do I start? First thing that comes to mind is UC Irvine's first national championship at Ohio State at Johns Hopkins Arena. I remember going to that, and you played in that match and made all-tournament team, and we're all-world as well, Thornton. But seeing a group of guys who essentially were, I don't want to say overlooked, but they weren't really picked up by a bunch of D1, 2 programs because you just didn't have enough exposure or didn't play for the right clubs or whichever. But a bunch of blue-collar guys is what you guys are tabbed as. When I saw I think it was at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Fox Sports West, whatever that was before that. I think it's CBS Sports. I think Geeter may have had a hand in the piece, but they did a piece on UC Irvine, and it talked about you guys being like these unknown group of guys. And if you look at who they are, they're you, Brian, a guy named David Smith, who's a middle block on the USA men's national team. You had a guy who sent a recruiting tape of people not serving him, a libero by the name of Brent Asuka. You have an opposite named Matt Weber on that, Aaron Harrell, an undersized middle blocker. And I know I'm going to Jason Jablonski, the AVCA All-American in 2006, and basically won all the awards in 2006, but fell short in 2006. But all these guys that were not really looked at ended up winning this national championship, the university's first national championship in 2007. And watching that moment when the final ball was served long and you guys celebrating was such a powerful moment, because I felt like the work that Charlie had done to get Speraw on staff with his 5-year plan and his 4 pillars of what a team is. I mean, watching all those little pieces come together. And one of the values or the pillars that Speraw promoted was family. And that was one of the things that I hadn't seen in the program in all the years that I'd seen it, was this essence of family. Sure, you had different personalities on the team. Stacy described that team the best. She said that there's half the guys that are the box of puppies jumping on top of each other trying to get attention. Then you have the other half of the guys who are these mellow guys who are just kind of cuddling, hanging out in the other box. But you guys somehow managed to pull that all together, maximize the talent, and do amazing things for the program and put UC Irvine on the map. So that is one. But that's a lot. So,
Rob, that's super cool answer. And you do realize this is about you, right? You spent this whole time just talking about us.
But see, that's the thing that really gets me so fired up and so excited and passionate about the sports, because behind the athletes are incredible stories and incredible people. And that's one of the things that I feel like it's so overlooked. And I was on another podcast or stream just last weekend based in Mexico City. And they asked why I'm so passionate about what I've done. It's because I get to know each of you personally. Like even just more recently, I got to speak to Kyle McCauley, who's had a phenomenal breakout year. And it was so fun to watch him just flourish. And he crushed my Irvine team, which I was so bummed out about. But seeing where he had come from and getting his story and his connection to Balboa Bay Club and how he is connected with Travis, about how Travis has encouraged him to hit roll shots all the time. And I say that sarcastically. But little things like that, people, fans, they can hold on to and say, look, these are just everyday people who love the same game that I do. And I hope that it could just instill some kind of passion to get them fired up for the game and to really get it growing, because we have such a unique, element of volleyball. It's fast paced. There's this beach culture, but 9 times out of 10, the people that I've come across are just wonderful people that have excellent, just touching stories.
The coolest thing is just to listen to you talk about it, because you have just still so much passion, about volleyball and the sport and everyone that's here, like in your voice after all these years. So what is it about just these people and the sport in it that has kept you, that has got you like this, that has grabbed a hold of you?
I think realizing that everyone has their own journey to go on. And one of the challenges of that journey is trying to find who you're going to be within that journey. And each, basically that journey is shaped by obstacles, challenges, joys, and celebrations. And, each of us is created so uniquely, and we respond to things differently. We can choose to lay down, or we can choose to face that challenge. And I think facing that challenge develops incredible character in some of the people that I've come across. Well, a majority of the people I've come across. It's like seeing people work and sacrifice for family, friends, and team. I mean, I love hearing those kind of stories. Putting team before me. All those what can be viewed as cheesy sayings, but they're true. It's just cool seeing that dynamic in volleyball occur. And then you throw on the talent levels, the increase of pace on balls being hit versus like in the 80s. There are definitely some guys and gals who have brought the game at such an intense level. I couldn't even imagine seeing a 75-mile-per-hour jump serve being hit at me right now. And you got guys, they're stepping in, taking it, and yawning afterwards with a perfect pass. So seeing that transformation of the game, hey, I'm going to hit this standing float serve from 30 yards beyond the end line. And now they're hitting this jump float, this hybrid ball that you introduced with a cross dribble, Thornton, back in your day.
Hey, it was a little more than a dribble. All right, Rob, let's not, no, it wasn't very good. I know that.
But just seeing the transformation of the game, and along with the development of all the characters and personalities that are there, gosh, if you were to sit down and talk to some of the people, which I know like people like Geeter have, there are some great stories out there, and you can seriously do 30 for 30s on any person in the volleyball world and come out with a great story.
For sure. I agree with you. You've seen volleyball develop. Where do you, like, over these years, and I'm just listening to you talk about it, where do you see it going? Just out of curiosity, or how do you see this going?
Oh, gosh, I just, with the way the strength and power has definitely reached the higher levels. I mentioned the 75-mile-an-hour jump serves. I'm waiting for that next person to hit that 80-mile-per-hour jump serve, because it's coming. You got players like Gabi Garcia Fernandez, who plays in the Puerto Rican national team, was at Cal Baptist his first year. Watching him develop, but he's at a new level, and I see players so close to the pace that he's hitting at. In fact, I don't even know what he's been clocked at, but he's hitting it with a lot of strength and a lot of pace, and I'm seeing more and more players like that. Some of the video I'm getting these days, like courtside, because, just announcing is, it's not that challenging. Phil and Stacy, don't hold that against me. I'm still doing my work. I'm videoing from that sideline, but watching, like, for instance, Kyle McCauley's approach and getting the swing that he gets on the balls. And there is a level of power that's being introduced to the game that is making it so much more exciting. And then you bring that to the beach, you're getting to, guys seriously thumping the ball on the sand and going out of the stadium at AVPs or FIVBs. And that's where you make the call, welcome to the bounce house.
There's a favorite. That's like, it's interesting because I've seen it go that fast. I mean, I didn't play that long ago, and now I'm coaching it, and I'm like, I'm scared. I'm like, these guys it's way harder faster than I remember it. It's way harder and faster. There's another guy, speaking of the national team guys that work with, I think he's on this call. John Speraw is on this call. He was the head coach at UC Irvine. Now he's the head coach at UCLA and also national team coach. He's made me run. He yelled at me a few times. Now he's also my boss. But I'd like to give him the floor here. Obviously, he's had a lot to be around you as your career's gone as well. So, John, you there?
Yeah, I am. Thornton, you're discounting yourself in terms of the power. You're just talking about the power, Rob, today. There was this one swing I'll never forget, and it's when I had to flip Thornton all the time to the other side because outsides would torch us. So I'd flip Thornton, and there was a transition play, and they had to set Thornton. It was against Pepperdine, and you had Winder on the right and some 7-foot middle that Pepperdine always has. And Thornton had his shot, and he went up there and swung with all of his might. And I can't tell you how hard he hit that ball, especially when it got stuffed right back in his face, the amount of power it came back with. And
I can tell you how hard it was. It was 83 miles an hour. It was the hard one that Rob was talking about, but just nowhere near. And actually, I think it just sailed like all the way to the rafters at UCI. Yeah, it was hit hard, not well.
It was hit hard. Yeah, it's been that way for a long time. So, Rob, I'm so honored to be here too, much like Geeter and all of us. And I just think looking at this screen, it's obviously a blast to see a lot of these guys that have been in the gym and around the sport for so long. And I mean, it just speaks to who you are as a person. And I think that's what everybody's said so far that's talked about you, is just you're literally the nicest guy in the game. And we have a game with Mark Pavlik in it, and you're nicer than he is. And so I just think that's why we're all here. And I think you're a constant presence in the sport. So you were starting off your story talking about the Wacky Wacky Weva in 1988, you know, and then you've got, I mean, look at Pesto. I mean, that guy's old. He's here honoring you, and so there's young guys. Look at T-Dub. I haven't seen Taylor Wilson in a while. Look at that young man. T-Dub, I need your phone number. I just sent you a text to say hello because I haven't seen you in forever. And the guy replied back and said, "This isn't Taylor again. Now you're blocked." So I guess I tried to text you a couple times.
So hey, we've had some trouble with that guy in the past. In particular, not even that's a legitimate issue that is a concern. You want to leave that guy alone.
All right, T-Dub, send me your number later.
Real quick. Somebody just text me that guy's number. I'm gonna ask for Taylor later.
So, but Rob, just thanks for everything you do for the game, man. I mean, I remember when I was coming as an assistant coach when I was at UCLA to Crawford Hall, and I knew what your game was because you used to have those speakers right behind the benches. And your deal was to turn those speakers right at the staff and crank that volume up to like 12. I remember that was one of the first things I remember about Crawford Hall is how loud those speakers were that you were controlling. I think it might have been the first time I met you is when I walked up there. But I mean, there's just so much history. I was always so happy for you and Stacy. I know Paul Hope is on this call too, and everybody at UC Irvine for you know, the program that it continues to be after all these years. I mean, it's so just wonderful for everybody involved and everybody that put it. I know Andy Reid and Charlie and all the previous coaches and you. I think everybody that's had that history with the program, to see it continue to flourish today, I think is just great. I'm just happy for you and to have this moment, which you deserve. And you're just history with that program. And I know that the thing is that's interesting is I know you're with UC Irvine. We all know how much you just love the game and love the people in the game and how you're in it for the game. And that's why we're all here. And gosh, even if you're every once in a while, you know, you're going to get the 10-finger discount. I don't even know what that means. Can you explain what that 10-finger discount means? I always thought that was with a pack of bubble gum at 7-Eleven. I don't.
It's when you're stealing something from someone, like rejecting someone really good in a shameful kind of way. You know, you as a middle blocker, it only happened when you fully had hair when I saw you. So
I won't ask you to explain downtown pound, but you know, we love all those little sayings, and just it makes coming down to Irvine and playing and seeing you. And of course, now that you're doing the national team stuff and we're playing in SoCal, it's just great to have you be a part of the volleyball community. And congratulations on this event. You certainly deserve it.
Thank you, Johnny. And I know it's about me, but I want to share just a quick story about you, just because a part of the growth and the knowledge of the game, going on the deeper levels, has come from you, although you probably didn't even intentionally mean to do it. I mean, you're always so open in inviting me into practices, planning sessions, video sessions, which, I mean, in my mind, or to you, it probably was like, oh, you're just hanging out. But man, I was eating it all up because I wanted to learn about strategy, just because I love the game so much and what you're doing, how you're getting people to connect on the court, and how you got things to work. So on the game level, that definitely was something that's so powerful for me to learn. But on a personal level, you know, because everything in life is about relationships. And one of the things that have stuck out in my career was when my dad passed in 2010. You're one of the first people that were there. We'll just say that.
Well, listen, I mean, we're all buddies here, you know, we're all in this together beyond the sport. And so again, Rob, just congratulations, man. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much, Johnny.
Rob, it's super cool. Like, I don't know just how much, just seeing that, like how many people that you've touched, you know, just like throughout this thing. And like, that's clear to John, and how this has become family. And I've talked about how much it means to, how much you mean to everybody here, and how much, just, I don't know, how much you mean to everybody here. And we're just very thankful for you. Everyone's very thankful for you. Another guy is super thankful for you and is a good guy, just about as, I mean, it just in terms of comparing good guys here, I mean, just this is just like good guy after good guy comparison. But is ex-Anteater star Donnie Rafter. So if I haven't seen Donnie, but he's here somewhere, and I know he'd like to say a few words to you too. So it'd be a perfect good-on-good fight happening right here.
Hey, what's up, Rob? I'm here. I've been here. For some reason, people can't find me.
I just couldn't see you.
Thanks, Brian.
So good to see you.
It is weird looking around though. Like, I feel super old. Like, I used to identify with the young kids, and now it's the gray hairs for sure. Like,
you look great, Donnie. You look great.
Thanks, man. But so typical like Travis fashion. I found out about this a couple days ago, and I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't know. I had no idea. So I was going to put some things together, and I have notes and everything because like I said, I didn't know my crowd. And looking in here, I don't think there's anyone from my era in here except I see James. I didn't play with James, but I got Travis over here and Charlie, and obviously I know Dan and Tom and some of the other other guys here. But so, like I said, I have some notes here, and it's one of those deals. I got to kind of, I don't know, think back to this whole deal. And Rob, I've known you now for like 25 years, and I still think of myself as like a 25-year-old kid.
We are 25, Donnie. We are 25. You gotta keep
but for me, you've kind of, you've announced some college games that I've played in. Obviously, every home match at UCI. Travis and I were talking. You announced the CIF volleyball match, the finals match. That Travis was the coach. We ended up winning. There were some other matches in there when I was in high school that you announced. As I was thinking through this, I got all choked up, and I was like, man, there's a lot of good memories that you're a part of. Sorry. But it was one of those deals for me. When I was in it, I obviously loved you and the smile and who you are. And, you know, there wasn't a warm-up where it wasn't Rob's smile. There wasn't a post-game where there wasn't, you know, Rob's smile. But afterwards, I got to coach for a number of years, and I coached with Steve and coached against Dan. And the games where you were coaching the kids, or I'm sorry, when you were announcing the kids that I was coaching were awesome because I got to sit back and watch, you know, my kids, the kids that I coached, experience you. And that to me was awesome, just how lucky those kids were to have you. And then, you know, it made me think about how lucky we were to have you, or we are to have you at UCI. I look back, and you've been there for how many years? 32 years or something like that?
Don't give my secret, Donnie. I love you, but don't give my secret.
Yeah. And I was a math econ guy, and if you actually did the numbers on that, and I did, just rough estimates, you're talking thousands of just UCI kids that you've had impact on, but not to mention the high school world that you've hit. And I even, like, again, you've announced me as a player, as a coach, high school, you know, college, and then even after the fact, I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, Rob, our school made it to the CIF finals. And I'm a high school principal now, for those of you guys who don't know me. And part of that, the CIF, you know, thing, they make it to the finals. Rob announces the team and then announces the players. I'm sorry, he announces the players and then announces the coaches and then the school administrators. And it was one of those deals where it was so surreal to have you announce my name again, you know, 25 years later. And it brought me back to some amazing times and all of my college memories, like you're a part of, man. And so I just wanted to thank you. And, you know, it's one of those deals. everything I look back on, every memory I have in college, like you're there. And so thank you for all you've done for me, my teammates, the kids I've coached, and then all you've done for the game of volleyball, man. We'll talk. Thanks. I'm done. Sorry.
Donnie, you're killing me here, Donnie.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Donnie, I have a special place in my heart for you just because of our connections even after your career. But one of the things that I remember and I am so blessed by was, now Stacy, I know you're on here, correct me if I'm wrong, but Donnie is the first men's volleyball player inducted into the UC Irvine Athletics
Do me a
Hall of
favor,
Fame.
stop talking. Don't turn it back around on me, man. This is you.
No, because it blessed me, and that's why I want to mention that is during your induction speech. I guess I didn't have the honor of being at the actual event, but from what I've been told, you were weeping when you mentioned me on there, and I wish I could have been there to witness that because it touched me so deeply. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, again, thanks, man. And it sounds like it looks like weeping happens all the time with me. So sorry.
Thanks, Donnie. Geez, Rob, man, and that's one thing. Just listening to that and listening to Donnie talk about, like, for sure, my generation. I mean, I'm speaking. I have, I heard Taylor Wilson's name here. I see him in the outline of that gigantic ear right now, and I just seeing like the amount of, I don't know. It's just we took it for granted. Like, we took what you did for us for granted. Like, you elevated the game for us as players, and you made it, I don't know, you made it special. And I think we didn't, like, my generation didn't do a great job actually of just listening to, like, seeing that and understanding how big that was for us and what that meant. And thank you too, because that's just, it's like you're constantly pushing the sport. I remember there was a time, I know you guys all know about the Volley Talk on the website, on the internet. I know you guys all know about it, all right? Or pretend like you don't go log on and look on that crap every once in a while.
It's all those trolls. You guys are trolls, huh?
Yeah, but I remember there was one time, though, in like 2006 or whatever, and I went on there, and I was like, I think Rob Espero has made 2 names, and he's talking to each other. I think he's catfishing himself. I think he's catfishing himself to try and push the sport to a higher level. This is ultimate sacrifice. And I actually didn't remember that even until just now, and I don't even know if that's true. Is that true?
No way.
I thought you were pushing the sport like so hard that you just cared so much, and there's so many people were so appreciative of that. So, I mean, we all have our little stories of how hard that you push that. So I'm just going to ask you, like what you drive me for sure to push that and to be passionate about some things. So what keeps you going here? What keeps you driving the sport and trying to make it as great as possible?
I always bring it back to the people that I've met. And I look at the screen when it's in the full gallery mode, and I enjoy the time and that I've had with all of you, and the fact that you've entrusted me with something like a valuable commodity like time. I mean, that's an investment in my heart and my life that, I will never take for granted. I've seen a lot of you for multiple years. Some of you are newer. It's like I remember seeing Charlie Wade back in the Cal State Fullerton days. So I'm like, wow, and seeing what he's doing at Hawaii now, and just the young men that he's bringing up through there. I love seeing the stories of seeing a person or an athlete from a no-name town just blow up and kill it internationally. It's all these stories and the relationships, that the time that people are willing to spend with me to talk about something we all love together, but also once they start entering the realm of, hey, this is me off the court, and I get to discover how valuable a person they are. That's what that fuels me. And that's in all aspects of both indoor and beach. It's not just indoor. It's anyone who's trying to grow the game and push it to new levels and in its popularity. So it's easy when people are involved for me.
You're so selfless. So it's just thank you. Super selfless. Um, I'm gonna force you to talk. I think someone's got to mute their thing, so I don't know who that is. But I'm gonna force you to talk about you, Rob. I'm doing it. Okay, this whole time I've watched you just turn it back around on everybody else. What are you doing now? What do you got coming up in the future? How are all these people that you've already connected with gonna keep connecting with you in the future here, Rob? Rob, you're muted now, though. You gotta, as a professional, this is nice.
There we go.
As a professional, to have you make a mistake like that when I'm just doing terribly up here, it's wonderful to see. Thank you for making me comfortable, Rob.
Well, in this world right now, we're living through some historic times, and I'm hoping volleyball can come back quickly, because I'm personally dying for it. I miss interacting with all the athletes and the personalities, even the staffs of all the different organizations and universities and high schools, colleges I've been working for. So assuming that everything comes back, obviously UC Irvine will always be there. They're always the primary. Whenever I get hired out by places, I go, you have to understand, UC Irvine's going to be my primary. And then USA is always next in line. And then, the high school end. And if there's a power structure there or a priority structure, it's got to be Newport, just because, Danny, you gave me the high school break. And then from there, it's just kind of open. But those are how I try and prioritize. As far as newer things on the horizon, just in recent years, I've jumped onto the beach scene. And it was kind of on accident. It was through Flow Volleyball doing play-by-play. And then that kind of evolved into play-by-play for indoor. So I'm hoping that from the beach, jumping into beach, there'll be some more beach opportunities, be they club or anything, just to help Donald's son and the AVP go forward. I mean, I really feel like they're a big part of volleyball sustaining and growing in the future on the beach and indoor, because they're promoting a potential career for some of our indoor athletes. USA Volleyball is always on the radar. I will do whatever I can to support what they're doing. CIF, but basically whoever is willing to give me the opportunity, I'm willing to jump on board. P1440s give me a bunch of play-by-play opportunities, been jumping on that. And then I know I'm leaving something out, but podcast. Well, that actually, funny story there. The guys over at the Net Live, that's Kevin Barnett, and I guess Geeter's considered one of the original founders, but he jumped ship, and I never got the full story, but I love how they just kind of hang him out to dry.
Well, I got this job with the Lakers, and it got kind of tough. But they like to say, what happened was I missed like a month, and then Barnett cut me out of the intro, so I just said, you know what, I'm never coming back, and I went back 8 years later for the final show. Can't cut me out of the intro, bud.
Well, so there's a show there, College Volleyball Weekly, on the men's side, and I'd been contributing for probably since I think 2015. And when Barney and DJ Roche decided to retire the show after this 2019 women's season, I just kind of assumed that someone was going to step up and take the reins. So I just kind of was hanging back, waiting to see who that person would be. Well, no one did. And I got a phone call from the editors over at Volleyball Mag, that's Ed Chan and Lee Feinswag, and said, would you be willing to carry it on at least for the 2020 season? And I'm thinking, that is so much work to track all that men's volleyball across the nation. I mean, someone's going to get short change or not covered. But I agreed to do it because I didn't want the coverage of men's volleyball to lapse. Particularly D1 and 2. I would have loved to have covered the other ones, but there's so many programs. And so I decided to do that. And at the same time, I was working collegiate beach events as well. So I jumped on with UCLA Beach, Stein Metzger and his crew, and was covering it for Volleyball Mag as well. Well, COVID happened on March 11th. I was working a tri-dual between USC, Pepperdine, and UCLA. And I remember a parent looking down at his phone saying, hey, they just canceled the Utah Jazz Oklahoma City Thunder game because someone has COVID. I was like, oh, no way. And as the chips fell, that Big West canceled the championships, NCAA, by Friday the 13th, basically any kind of collegiate work was done for me. but somehow, some way, I wanted volleyball personalities from all levels, not just collegiate beach or men's Division 1, 2, but even AVP, FIVB, to continue somehow in the spotlight. So I decided to keep on podcasting. So that's how I got into the podcasting thing. So there's 30 plus episodes now for Viral Volley podcast with various volleyball personalities. And my intention was never to compete with anyone else that's doing podcasts, because there's so many people doing a much better job than I can do. But the ability to promote the personalities in the game and talk on a more personal level, I thought it was a great opportunity for them to come forward and at least keep them out in the public spotlight. So when things start going again, which we will be going again, that there's not a lapse in their followership or their sponsor contracts or, just the game being ignored, because we're at a time in history where we were seeing double-digit participation in volleyball, an increase. I feel like I really want to keep riding that momentum because I love the game that much. So podcasting was a unintended current reality for me. And I've enjoyed doing it just because I get to know the people. It really builds on the relationship and behind the scenes and off the court. So that's what's happening in my neck of the woods, at least for the foreseeable future.
Very cool. And yeah, I mean, you know how this is going. Like, well, thank you for everything that you've done in the past. In all honesty, thank you so much for everything that you're going to do in the future. Because right now, the way that this is going, like people and the voices like you are what's going to push this sport through something like this. And there's no doubt that you're going to be on the front lines of that. Pushing the sport on through this thing, like people like you that do that. So thank you so much for everything. I want to say thank you too for Travis and for you for having me on as to host this night for you. I'm honored, and I feel very lucky and very lucky to have had you in my life. So thank you. And without that, I'm going to pass it back over to Travis Turner, and he's going to say a couple things.
Thanks, Thornton. I appreciate you stepping into the host role.
Oh,
Geeter should be pretty worried right now because you're almost as good-looking guy as Geeter, but you probably should work out a little more.
The youth is coming, buddy. The youth is coming. Send me out to the pasture.
Hey, first of all, thanks to Brian. Brian just thanked Rob for what he's doing now, and I don't know how many of you guys know this, but Brian was the instigator behind the volley on, right, Brian? The volley on movement. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. But
he's behind that movement on the volleyball. And I talked to Brian one night, and just to hear the energy from his voice it fired me up, and just how much Brian just wanted to make sure kids knew there was something else to do right now when there wasn't volleyball. So I think a lot of us on this call know Brian pretty well and love Brian, and I'm one of those guys. So thank you so much, Brian, for doing this. You absolutely crushed it, and that's what we knew you would do, actually. So thanks to Brian. Obviously, thanks to Geeter, and Geeter's great, and it's just cool to see Geeter is the exact same guy he was when he was at Northridge, and that's Rob's like that too. Like it's bitching. I use that word. My kids make fun of me, but it's bitching to see that Geeter is the exact same guy he was. There's nothing different about him, even though he's kind of a big deal.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
It's true. And then Speraw too. Speraw's been the same way, no matter what's come his way. He's been really willing to help out and do some things, just to grow the game and to make it better. So thanks to those guys for talking. Rob, when I called anyone to talk, they all said yes. They said they could go on for hours about you. I don't think you understand the impact you've had on all of us. And I have some Donnie Rafter in me, so I'll lose it. So I'm gonna cut off there. You have no idea how much we all appreciate you. And it was funny. I was worried about the quantity in here, about people showing up, and I realized how silly that was, because one thing better than quantity we all know is quality, and the quality of people in here is pretty crazy. So, Rod, thank you so much. I just wrote down a few notes here that I want to make sure I cover. So, first of all, Alan Knipe apologized for not being here, and McKay's here to represent Long Beach State, and then Charlie Wade's here for Hawaii, and I just think, and Sam Swicey's here as well. I think it's just classy of those guys from other schools to come in and show you some love. So, I just want to give a shout out to those guys. And then, so we have a tradition at Balboa, because Zooming's been going on for years. We've been doing it for years, right? So we have a tradition at Balboa we've been doing where we give Charlie Brand the last word. He would get it anyways, but it's someone that I know loves you a lot, so I'm excited to hear Charlie's last words. And then if you guys want to hang out and talk to Rob, we can hang out, or we can call it a day and get on with our Friday night. So Rob, we all love you so much, and thank you so much. Go ahead, Charlie.
Thanks, Travis. First of all, Brian, great job. Love it. You always make me laugh. And your heartfelt message is really well done also. Our sport is really such a unique sport. You can go around and Pesto and John Speraw, John Hawks, Geeter, Presh, all that Danny Glenn can tell you about the uniqueness of the sport. You talk to people in other sports and they go, I can't believe how all you guys know each other and how everybody kind of has a relationship. And we really do. It's a different environment. And Rob, I hope you realize how big of a part of that you are because of how you present this thing. You create a simple volleyball game into an event with your excitement and your expressions. We can all attest to this. Watching you even before the match excites me because you are on the go. And when the match is over, you're still exciting and still getting it going because of your passion and love for the players and for the sport and for the memories. And that's really, really special. I like and enjoy the fact that I guarantee, and I know Stacy and Paul are on this Zoom, I guaranteed when you were doing lines at UCI, you were not making any money. And probably for a long time, you didn't make any money. And that is always a sign of true passion when you kept coming back, kept doing it. It wasn't about the money. And then I remember a few years ago when you stopped working actually at UCI, it just became Rob at the mic. And I thought how special that was because of where you had started and where you progressed. And then you've only expanded that more. Every time I turn around, there's a new place that you're present in excitable and bringing the value of the sport. Your history is off the charts too. So much. I'm kind of unique in that I remember when you were in the Balboa Bay Volleyball Club clinics, and it's kind of comes full circle now. Your daughter Jordan is in my Balboa Bay Volleyball Club clinic, and we've been doing this for a long, long time together. And so I've watched it. I love how you're able to lead with your faith and teach through this game that we all love. So I want to say thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You know that how much we all care. And thank to Travis also for his passion in putting this together to honor you.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Rob, you got the last word here. What do you got for us?
Okay. Well, Charlie, yeah, I knew you were going to mention the early years. And, one of the things that gets overlooked is the value of coaching staffs. You're basically being a parent, and I don't say that in a humorous way, but you are teaching values at such a young age. And Charlie, you are one of the first people I came across who looked at each of us individually, or me, or at my teammates. Russ McCall, I don't remember his name, from the only other Irvine guy in the clinics with you. I remember you pouring into us, teaching us the game on such a level that made it so interesting. You taught history. You would quiz us and then make us run 10 laps if we got it wrong. Like, where was volleyball founded? What year? I'm like, okay, I'm going. But just simple things, instilling values of appreciating history and then appreciating the relationships. And you mentioned coming full circle with Jordan now coming into Orange County Volleyball Club, the female side of what you're doing. Relationships are so important. I look at the way she responds to you, Bruce Asper, and all the other high school coaches. You coaches out there, I cannot thank you enough for wearing your lives on your sleeve, teaching the values and discipline, but also realizing that this whole sport, and the only way that we all work together is through relationships. So I am thankful for all the relationships that you have entrusted me with, because I do not take that lightly. And if I do forget your name, it's because I've memorized so many names. Geeter, I think you can relate to me on this one. We memorize so many things that every once in a while our 2K drive just loses memory and it just gets pushed out temporarily. So, but
Too often, actually.
I value each and every one of you and the time that you've invested in me, because that's what's led to my passion for the game, is the people that I've come across. And we all can do so much outside of the game based on the relationships that we've established here within our volleyball community. And that's just building strong relationships around us that we can create hope and in lives. Even though professional volleyball isn't all our futures, they are definitely what we're learning in these groups, through coaches, through players, through competition, is the value of relationships. So I cannot thank you, Charlie, enough for having me be one of the first. How crazy is this? You only had 2 junior national teams back when I played for Balboa Bay Club. Sean Sheward was the other coach, and I always butcher when we play Hawaii. I always call Sean Sheward, not Brent Sheward, as a starting setter. It's stuck in my head from back in the day. So I cannot thank you enough, Charlie. And Travis, we go way back, and I love you. I hated losing to you. I always lost to you and Trent, but I appreciate everything you're doing here in the area and for the sport of volleyball and the men you're creating, because obviously, Kyle McCauley, I saw, is on this call, and he spoke highly of you, except for the fact that you wouldn't let him hit a roll shot. So thank you all so much, Donnie, Johnny, all the UCI guys had to take off early. You guys have poured into my life in ways that are immeasurable, and I cannot thank you all enough.